Staying in Denver, in case you missed it, the Broncos traded for Jalen Waddle earlier this month, a move that has current running back J.K. Dobbins excited for what's next with that offense.
Then we got another guy that just came in, and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, not bad.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep.
They're poison because we got Cortland Sutton, we got the young Pat Bryant, we got a great O-line, we got everything, right? We got an embarrassment of riches on this team of talent.
Bill Barnwell added needed depth out wide in Denver, new OC. So do the Broncos take another step forward?
They could, but I think Bo Nix has to take a step forward with them, because the one thing that can stop playmakers from getting the ball if the ball is not accurate, and that has been the Bo Nix weakness so far as a pro. He's great at extending plays, creating out of structure, but that becomes a weakness when he doesn't deliver on-target passes. He was the fourth worst quarterback in the league last year in terms of throwing on target. And so when he is working out of structure, when he's moving on the pocket, his feet don't get set, that has to be more consistent to get the ball to all those exciting receivers that Denver suddenly has in that receiving room.
Yeah, you see fourth worst amongst qualified QBs on those passes of 10-plus air yards. Also, worst completion percentage outside the pocket last season than he had as a rookie.
Okay, let's talk about that because I feel like that's so incredibly misleading. First, if anyone knows where they're getting those exact stats, please let me know, because I honestly really don't know where they're getting those exact stats, both out of the pocket and the 10-plus air yards off target rate. That's not just in NextG, that's not on PFF. So, if anyone knows where that data actually lives in the world, please let me know so I can look over it, because I would love to dig into that data. So, please, if anyone knows, I'm asking you Denver Broncos fans, please try to figure it out. Help me help you. Help me help you, because I'd love it. So let me just get that off to the side first off. So much of that is heavily skewed by especially the beginning of the season. The beginning of the season, Bon Nix was definitely not the most accurate in that regard, right? No question about it on those deep balls. And the reality is that for whatever reason, they were just like go on the deep balls. I mean, like Sean Payne had Bo Nix trying to just launch the ball out of the stadium seemingly 5 times a game every single game. And we talked about it all throughout the beginning of the season, that it was just like they're building these game plans where it's like you either complete that pass and you win the game, and if you don't, you lose the game. That everything is just it's too fragile right now. It's too fragile. And I'm not, to me something like this just makes it sound like, oh, Bo Nix is just being inaccurate. And I just think like that's absurd. Like Caleb Williams was just straight up inaccurate, and he was just straight up missing plays and missing throws that were clearly snorts there. That was not the story of Bon Nix. That was not the story of Bon Nix at all. And again, in the beginning of the season, he was absolutely rushed through. He was all sped up. I made the joke that like every single play felt like it was like the final 5 seconds of a game and everything was just go. And again, we talked about it like what's the best way to go through it. This might just be his style of play. We could say like, hey, you need to slow it down, but maybe that's not the path for we're trying to figure out like what does this actually mean. I talked about how for me I'm actually worse when I slow down and I'm better. I'm better when I stay sped up, but I've had coaches grab me by the shoulders and be like, slow down. And it was like, this is not where I'm at my best. I'm a hyper sped up person. And that's actually when I'll end up being more comfortable. You'll get the better version of me. And then when I'm slowing down, it's got to be on my own time, on my own term. It's I got to ride my own wave, for it. And so it's just you can't just say slow down and you'll be better, cause that's not always the case. But he was extra sped up. He was extra go. And I do think things slowed down a bit for him. But I just something like this is it just irks me a little bit, because if we go deep ball touchdowns, Bon Nix had 11. He was tied for first in the NFL. Had 11 deep ball touchdowns and a 91.9 PFF rating of 20 yards or more, 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I mean, that's pretty fantastic. And this just proved my point what I was saying about that it was always go go go. The quarterbacks above him, Matthew Stafford, average depth of target on the 20 or more was 28.4, Caleb Williams 27.2, Bo Nix was 31.7. That's actually a pretty huge swing when we're looking at these margins. That's a huge that ends up being a pretty huge difference. So that's what I'm saying. Like they were going for bro. I mean, like Bo Nix's deep ball passes were literally like, I'm throwing as hard and as far as I possibly can. And it's like, yeah, it makes sense that you're going to have a little bit more inaccurate throws, but at the same time, the drop percentage 14.7%. Caleb 13.9%. Stafford 9.1%. So, what does that mean? It means his receivers were catching more balls. 14.7. Pretty wild. The only other starter that was up there was Trevor Lawrence with 17.6. Everyone else's numbers are going to be a little bit skewed because they played like 4 games, 3, so obviously if you just throw a couple passes there that get dropped or something, then the percentage is going to be heavily skewed. But he was top 2 when looking at just starters. But this is also now where it continues to get interesting because you're looking at, now this is from 10 to 19 yards. So the true intermediate, window, his completion percentage was definitely lower 50%. Right? Which for just start when I look at it through just starters, quarterbacks that took at least 50% snaps, he is ranked 23 out of 28, and so you would say, this is actually, pretty low, and not the best, and no doubt second-year quarterback still has plenty to grow and evolve. But what I find really, really fascinating, and I think this bears out in what we watch, not just what the data shows, is that he was top 9 in time to throw in those plays. We know because then they even loosely set this up. Oh, not accurate outside of the pocket. So many of those intermediate throws were these off balance. He's waiting. He's in scrambling. He's like sprinting, to the sideline and then like throwing a dart just like it was a play that was like never going to happen, right? Like it was never going to go anywhere positively. And I talked about this, I think last weekend or the weekend before where we were talking about how this offense, really fell out of rhythm a lot of times and we saw that it really kind of hurt play action. It hurt a lot of these design plays, a lot of these drop, a lot of drop balls and that there was just such a disconnection. When someone was open, there's then a drop pass. But no one is open. Bo Nix is then forced to make one of those stereotypical plays where he's running to the sideline, throws the ball, and it hits both the defender's hands and the receiver's hands, and it just goes to the ground, and you're just like, and then he's just jogging to the sideline, taking his helmet off, right? And you're just like, okay, what the heck was that? And we saw that so many times. Again, would I take issue with the idea of just like, oh, Bo Nix has just been inaccurate. Again, no doubt Bo Nix needs to improve some of his accuracy, and then I think that's totally fair, but so much of it was also like because of the disconnect of the offense, you're not setting Bix up to be able to smoothly deliver the ball. Like, here's a perfect example. Now, this is going to be a little bit further of a throw than I mean, but this is like what we saw throughout the course of the entire season just again and again and again and again. I mean, he calls hike and now he's immediately running towards the bottom of the screen and making a brutally difficult throw on the run. Right. An all-out sprint and then a throw off 1 foot launching it down the field. Like when you're asked to do that again and again and again, like I'm trying to emphasize, that's definitely a little bit deeper, that like that's a 20+ yard throw, but even that now shows you, oh, it's like, well yeah, like people sometimes imagine like a 20-yard throw is, or 20+ yard throw in a deep ball is just you doing your little and then letting it loose, and it's like, no, he was essentially an all-out dead sprint then throwing off 1 foot and launching it, and it's actually a pretty nice effort there, it's definitely a nice effort there. We just had so many instances of Bo Nix making those types of like, oh, he wasn't very accurate outside the pocket or wasn't very, and it's just like, okay, guys, this is, again, what conversation are we trying to have here right now? And then you combine it with plays like this that again are similar to the type of play that I'm talking about. Now, this will be an intermediate throw and it will be an accurate throw. And look what happens, right? His pocket breaks down very quickly. He's flushed, scrambles, makes a beautiful throw, and it's dropped. And it's dropped. And that's why I took such issue in this game, because this is a game that I live streamed. People like, oh yeah, Bo Nix not good. When are you going to admit that Bo Nix isn't good? And it was like, well, look at that play that he made that didn't go through. And then here's now 2nd and 18. Here's again the pocket collapsing again. Him scrambling and making a beautiful throw again off one foot like And this is so perfect because this was not good by Bo, because I want to show it all. And it's so funny because this game pretty much shows everything. This was the first game against the Raiders and the Broncos. And again Bo Nix flushed out, running to his side, launching the ball down the field and intercepted. So again, not the right idea, but we can see that situation happened again and again and again and again. And so it's like, so no wonder you're not going to have a completion percentage through the roof. No wonder you're going to be like, he was, bottom whatever in off-target throw. And it's just like, well, you're literally asking your quarterback right now to make throws like back when you were 10 years old, playing in someone's backyard when you're just running around and just like launching it. You're not even using a football. You're using like a Nerf ball or something. And it's just like, size, these are not the same of a quarterback just setting his feet and then just delivering an inaccurate ball. And then compare this to a Caleb Williams throw. And I'm not trying to single out Caleb Williams. This is just a throw that I remember so vividly. Because of this missed throw is why you even needed the heroics with that insane obviously 4th down throw in the first place. But this was just a straight up miss that Collinsworth even points out. But totally clean lets it loose and just straight up misses. Just straight up misses. And we can listen to what Collinsworth says. And a really important miss that time by Caleb Williams, because he did allow the substitution to take place for the Rams there. And again, that's one of those throws. That was an easy throw. That was an open receiver. Would have been nice to have kept that clock moving and kept that defense on the field. Yep. So, that's why you got to be careful with some of this data. That's why you got to marry them together. That's why it's really important to also bank. One of the things that I like to do is I like to bank, since you're always at risk of cherry picking, right? I can find highlights of Bix making a same missed throw of that of Caleb Williams, right? And that's why it's like I never want to just single out some of these individual moments. But I think what Greg Cosell has said, and I really like this, where he talks about how he looks, he lets the film tell the story first and then he looks for the stats to see, if they can, if they also confirm that. And I think that's a great way to do it. The problem is that when you're watching all these games and you're trying to make all these opinions and then draw all these conclusions, you have to bank specific memories of a representation of other moments of other examples of a representation of what's been happening. So that burned into my brain that Caleb Williams throw, because it was a common thing that happened for him. It was a common missed throw for Caleb. And again, I remember so specifically thinking they're gonna lose this game now just simply because of that errant throw that was going to be first down, right? Like it was crucial. Now it was 4th and 4, whatever. It was the final play, of that game, and they ended up scoring that touchdown and tying the game and going to overtime, which was insane. But I just remember thinking that was the most insane thing I've ever seen. But also, you shouldn't have even needed that in the first place. And so if you're talking about long-term trajectory, you got to be able to make that throw. That making that throw that you missed is way more important than praying to the heavens that you complete that touchdown pass, right? It just is that it just is. Tom Brady won all the Super Bowls, not by making those crazy throws. He made them by making those 10-yard throws. So it's like certain examples I'm like, this is a representation of what I've been seeing while watching all these games. And it was the same thing with Bo Nix where it's just like, you know, in your mind endless examples of these types of throws where Bo Nix is either flush out of the pocket or no one's open, he's waiting, the pocket collapses, and then he's doing his sprint up towards the sideline and then making the throw, and it's just like everything's going so fast and hyper and you're just like, man, if we could just have a little bit more smoothness to this offense. Well, then you're not going to have some of these stats. So, it's not a matter of just Bo needs to be better. It's like that to me is not the conversation there. That's not the conversation there like at all. And I don't think the stats necessarily show that. So that's all I was trying to highlight and emphasize here. I'll say again just for anyone who wants to cause trouble in the comments section, Bo Nix certainly still has room for improvement. Certainly has room to grow. And again, to emphasize, I'm just using Caleb as an example. I am not knocking on Caleb here. This is not meant to isolate or single out Caleb at all. But, you know, it was just the example of a missed throw, and it just so happened to be in the playoffs in the divisional round. But, those are the moments that end up being the difference why you win or lose more often than not the spectacular magical plays. So, and I think, again, just go back and watch the highlights of the Las Vegas Raiders versus the Broncos game, right? Like that kind of actually really showed so much what was disconnected with that offense that even if there were some moments that Bo Nix clearly made a mistake or what I was like, well, Bon was also making some pretty awesome plays that were either successful or as I showed you before dropped, and it's just like all of that really starts to spiral and just show a Messier picture. Which is why again I remember live streaming that game. I remember making a post-game video and everyone knows that I'm high on B. And so of course they were saying, oh, B is trash. B is trash. What are you going to say now? You can no longer defend him. And it was just like, guys, wait. What? Like what are you actually watching right now? So yeah, but we'll see. We'll see how 2026 goes. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Bo Nix, and his inaccuracy? His inaccuracy. Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. Please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as it really does help visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much.